I didn't even announce it on the YouTube. I've just been so busy with my conference. Let's see. There we go. Now we're live on the YouTube. So I'm going to make this smaller. And then I'm going to start showing my slides in just a second. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything, just go ahead and put it in the chat box. I appreciate that. Oh, you said I have tons of questions. Okay. Whoa. Okay. We're going to definitely dive into that. Let me just set myself up here with the slides. And then we're going to jump right into the presentation, which I don't know how long the presentation is going to be. Maybe 20 minutes. It just depends on how long I talk. And then we can go into your specific questions in the Zoom room. And for those of you on the YouTube who did not register in the Zoom, it's okay. You'll catch the next one because I will announce it sooner on the next time. Okay, so let's share my screen here. And in the Zoom room, you let me know when you can see my slides. And there is a little delay on the YouTube side, so I'm not even going to look at the YouTube side. But if you guys have questions on the YouTube side, you can feel free to also put those in the chat box, and I will definitely answer those questions. All right. So this, first, let me just double check. Let me know on the Zoom if you can see the slides. Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. I don't have enough light in here. Oof, glad I have my glasses on. Okay, so this presentation is about being a risk-aware owner. So basically, I want to talk about mitigating risk in your group home or your co-living home. And thanks for the hearts. Who's here? Somebody I know is here. Somebody's giving me hearts. I appreciate that. Okay. So I'm Katrina E. Robinson, and I have a co-living business in San Antonio, Texas called Roundtable Living. I've got 3 unlicensed co-living homes in Texas, but I actually live in Los Angeles, California. So now I teach people how to open and operate their own co-living homes, and I also teach them how to run it from afar. So that's the difference between my program and some of the other programs that are out there, is that I not only teach you how to open and operate your co-living home, but I also teach you how to run it from afar if you choose to. Now, a lot of my coaching clients don't live afar, from where their group home is. They just live in the same city, but they want to focus on working on the business and not in the business. So that's why they decide to come with me in my coaching program, because I focus so much on efficiencies and routines and not having the business consume your whole life. Because when I started my business, I already had a day job. I don't anymore, just as of recently, I don't have a day job anymore. But when I started my co-living home 6 years ago, I had a full-time job. Not only was I working full-time, but it was in management. So I was a supervisor of supervisors, and I had a lot to do. So I definitely didn't want to create a job with my co-living homes. So this is the reason why I documented all of my processes. I was in the military before, and so I'm used to documenting processes and following standard operating procedures, or SOPs. So I made sure that I documented everything so that eventually I could hand that over to someone else to be able to run the day-to-day operations of my homes. All right, so that was just a little bit about me. And my coaching program is called Group Home on Autopilot. So if you are interested in getting some coaching on how to open your co-living home, please go to grouphomeonautopilot.com and give me your email address, and then you'll start receiving emails from me. You can always respond to any of those emails, and we can set you up with some coaching. Also, at the end of this presentation, I will show a QR code so that you can book a call with me if you're interested in a one-on-one call, so that you can better understand the coaching options that I give. And You can put questions in the chat at any time. I will go over all of the questions in the chat and answer every single one before the end of this. And I plan on being live for about an hour or less because I do have another call right after this. So it's definitely going to be over in an hour, just FYI. And I know I didn't announce this at all, but that's okay. Okay, I'm glad that you're here anyway. All right, so being a risk-aware owner. Okay, so this slide, most problems are predictable. This is so true. So most of the problems that come with having a co-living home, first of all, let me back up. People always ask me, is having a co-living home risky? And my answer is yes, it is risky. But you know what else is risky? Everything. Like living your life is risky. Everything is risky. Just like going into the military is risky. Going to war is risky. Walking down the street is risky. Everything is risky. But the thing is, when you have a single family home, and I'm totally going off script now, but when you have a single family home and you're renting it out to someone and then they leave, you have a vacancy. You're not getting any money now. You have zero income when they leave. You have zero income. But if you have a single family home and you have 6 people in that single family home and one of the people leaves, you still have 5 other incomes that are coming in. So it's not like all of your money goes away. So that's why I actually prefer the co-living model over the single family home rental model, which I used to have. I used to have single family rentals and I was making about $200 a month on those rentals. And I was very happy with my 200. But once you go into co-living, you can take that same property that you were making $200 a month on, and you can start making $2,000 a month on that property. And if somebody moves out, your income does not go to zero. Your income goes down a little bit, but it doesn't go down to zero. So that's why I really like the co-living model as far as real estate investing goes. Okay, so most problems are predictable. So evictions, I try not to read the slides to you, but they don't start on eviction day. They begin with missed signs and late payments. So the thing is, you have to issue a 3-day notice to vacate immediately after the grace period is over. This is something that in the beginning I had a hard time with because somebody would, let's say the rent was due on the 1st. And then the 3rd comes and I'm like, hey, your grace period is over. You got to pay your rent. And they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to pay you on Friday. So I wouldn't issue the 3-day notice because I'm like, oh, yeah, he's going to pay me on Friday. And then Friday comes and it's like, no, I got to get it to you on Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, wait till Tuesday. So meanwhile, I'm not issuing any kind of documentation. You have to issue the 3-day notice. And the 3-day notice that I'm talking about is a 3-day notice to pay or vacate. So 3-day notice to pay or vacate. So that way you get the process started and you can go through the eviction process very quickly. Plus, if somebody receives, most people, when they receive a 3-day notice to pay or vacate, they take that very seriously, some people. And so they'll make sure they get that money to you. And a lot of times they'll be like, how are you going to do this to me? You give me a 3-day notice to pay or vacate. I thought we were friends. You can't be friends with the people that are your residents. You cannot be friends with them. You can be friendly with them. You can be friendly for sure. Make sure you're friendly with them and nice to them, but you have to issue the 3-day notice. The whole point of this presentation is going to be sticking to your processes. That's what you need to do. Just stick to your process. Okay, conflict. So you have to nip that in the bud really quickly. If there's any kind of issue, just make sure that you stay on top of it so that the things don't fester. You don't want resentment to grow and for issues to fester and then a blow up to happen. And this is just like in any kind of relationship. You have to make sure that you communicate and that you stay on top of things before they blow up. And then you have to address broken rules immediately. So if somebody breaks a rule, you can't just turn a blind eye to that. You have to address it immediately and also with consequences. So if you have fines, for example, in your lease agreement or your licensee agreement or your membership agreement or whatever you choose to do, which I go into in my coaching program. But anyway, if you have fines that are listed in there, and when I say fine, FINES, fines that are listed in there. So for example, if somebody breaks something, it's $25, or somebody breaks a certain house rule, it's this much. You have to withhold. You have to hold up your consequences. Make sure that you are issuing those fines and put it into your tenant management system so that it's documented, and don't just turn a blind eye to things. Because once you start being lenient on the rules, then that's when chaos starts to happen. So you have to stick to your processes and stick to your rules. And then property damage. So just make sure you keep your home maintained. Just every little thing that's an issue, just make sure you address it so that things don't get worse. Okay, what is a risk aware owner? So you have to think ahead. You're always looking into the future. Like, how can this issue become a problem later on? So just always be looking at things from a top level, which is why I like to work on my business and not in my business. I don't want to be in all the day-to-day details of everything, because when you're doing that, you can't see the forest for the trees. You're so bogged down with all the day-to-day things that you can't see bigger issues that are starting to happen. So that's why I really focus on being the CEO of the business and not dealing with all the little day-to-day issues. I would rather hire an operations manager to handle that kind of thing. And then protecting the assets. So yeah, just make sure that you have the business in mind. In everything that you do, you need to keep the business in mind. And also, I'm huge on systems. So using SOPs, as standard operating procedures, rather than just emotional reactions. Whenever something happens, you should already have a process in place to handle that, and not just go off of how you feel in that moment. You need to have a process that you're sticking to. And if you don't have a process that you're sticking to, then you need to document it. Like, let's say it's the first time something happened. You need to document that so that the next time it happens, you know what you're supposed to do when that happens. And then also, by documenting your systems, you can then hand that off to an operations manager. If you're in the early stages and you don't have an operations manager yet, and you are the manager of the house, document all your processes. Document the way you like things to be handled. So that way, this person who you bring on will know exactly how to run the business the way you want your business to be run. All right, so 4 core risk categories. So the first risk category is people. So this is about getting the right people in your house. So resident screening, I have an intake questionnaire that I use to make sure that people are going to be the right fit for my house. Guest management. So I actually don't allow any guests in my house at all. There's no guests allowed. If people want to visit with their friends and family and stuff, they can do that outside of the house, because it's a shared living environment. We want everybody to be comfortable. So I don't allow guests. Now, if somebody has a nurse that comes over to help them or something like that, some kind of home health agency that comes over, that's okay. And those people are approved. They're pre-approved to come over. But as far as just guests, no, I don't allow guests. Plus, my homes are all sober. So no drugs, no alcohol. And you can't really control what guests do. So if a guest comes over and they bring drugs or alcohol, I don't want that in my house. I definitely don't want somebody ODing on my couch. I don't want somebody drinking and introducing alcohol into the house. So no guests in my house. And behavioral expectations. So that's just making sure that all of your rules are documented in the lease agreement. For example, I have zero tolerance for violence, including verbal threats. And then also, let's see, So the people risk is the most unpredictable variable, because people are people. You can't really control them, but you can do your best to manage expectations and make sure that it's documented in the lease agreement, and that you look them in the eye and let them know what the house rules are and the consequences for violating your house rules. Okay, property risk. Okay, physical damage, safety hazards, and deferred maintenance. So yeah, just make sure your house is maintained at all times. There's actually, if you go on Pinterest, I've gone on Pinterest before and I've downloaded different house maintenance checklists. There's like what to do in the springtime, what to do in the summertime. And those are good ways to keep your house maintained. Whether you're renting or you've bought the house, just make sure that you keep the house maintained. For example, gutters might need to be cleaned out, things like that. So just keep the house maintained so that problems just don't build up. And always keep your lawn maintained too. And that's more of an aesthetic thing. Make sure that your lawn is maintained, because if your house it just doesn't look like it's taken care of very well, the people in the neighborhood are not going to like you. They're not going to like you or your house, because you've got all these random people in your house. You got random cars in the driveway, and then your grass is overgrown too. Don't do that. Just be a good neighbor. So keep your lawn maintained. All right, financial risk. You should document your income and expenses. So every month, I use a not a profit calculator. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. It's my profit calculator. I use a profit calculator, and every month just document, how much money came in, what vacancies we had, if we had any, and then how much the rent, the rent, the mortgage was, and how much the utilities were, so that we just see how much money we ended up making that month. So that's something you should do if you already have a co-living home. And even if you're just starting, document all of your finances, because then you can go back and look at the history and see, okay, this was a really good month for us because we were at 80% occupancy, or this was a great month for us because we were at 100% occupancy, or this wasn't a good month for us because we had a leak in the bathroom and we had a really high water bill, or whatever. So just document your finances. All right, operational risk. Okay, breakdown of systems, lack of SOPs. So SOP again is a standard operating procedure. So make sure you have your standard operating procedures in place. Even though, what I do is unlicensed. Unlicensed, so it's not like people are coming over and inspecting or anything like that. But even though it's unlicensed, I still like to have all of my processes and my procedures documented, because I don't want to have to think and reinvent the wheel every time something comes up. I don't want to have to put brain cells towards that, because I have to put brain cells towards so many other things. There's a book that I read by David Allen called Getting Things Done, GTD. It's one of my favorite books. And he talks about how your mind is for creating ideas, not for storing ideas. So I don't want to have to deal with a situation and then now store that in my head. This is how I handled that situation. No, just document it. And then when that situation happens again, you can go back to your policies and your procedures and say, this is how we address it if this situation happens. And then also, you have to start off, especially if you want to scale and have more than one of these homes, start off the way you want to end. So if you want to end up with 5 of these homes and you only have one, don't start off as if you only have one. And so you're treating it like a mom and pop operation. Treat it like you have 5 or 10 of these homes. You want to make sure that the things that you're doing are scalable. So when I started off and I had that one house, I made sure that I was documenting things and I had processes and a continuity book and things like that, because I knew that this was not going to be just a one home thing. It was going to be a bigger business. So I had to start off as if it was a bigger business. And then I had somebody else who was coming in, and I was going to have to hand over my policies and procedures to this person for them to run the day to day. So make sure you start off the way you want to end. Don't start off treating it like it's just a little side business hobby. If you know that you want to have 10 of these homes, you need to start off with documentation. You need to keep, for example, a Google Drive that has folders in it that are organized so that somebody else could come in and understand it very easily. I totally went off on a tangent on that. Okay. People, your greatest asset and risk. Let's see if there's any questions first. Nope, I don't see any questions. Perfect, perfect. All right. So, like I said earlier, when I bring in somebody, when I bring in a new person, a new resident into the house, and make sure, now I don't do this anymore because I don't do the intake anymore. I have an operations manager. But when I was doing the intake, I would make sure that I would look them in the eyes, the people who were coming in, I would look them in the eyes and explain the rules to them. And when I did that, I hardly had any issues with people. Now I noticed that later on we started getting more and more towards automated, which I love. I love automation. That's why my business is called Group Home on Autopilot. But one of the things that we automated that probably we should not have is we would send them their lease agreement, which had all the house rules in it. We would send them their lease agreement to sign via DocuSign or some other way that they could sign it digitally. And so they would initial on the DocuSign that they understood the rules. Now, what do you do when you receive a DocuSign? You're not reading all that stuff. You're not reading that stuff. You're just like click, click, next, next, initial, signature, done. You're not reading it. So that's what they were doing. They would get the thing in their email and they would just check, 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 done. And then they would come into the house and they're loitering in the front. They're smoking cigarettes in the front of the house, putting their cigarette butts all over the front of the house. And they're like, hey, you can't leave your cigarette butts in the front. You can only smoke in the back. And they're like, where is that rule posted? That rule is in the document that you signed. Oh, so that's something that depending on, I guess I don't know if it depends on the demographic, because I think anybody and everybody would do this. I would just check it off. I wouldn't read it. So you have to look them in the eyes and explain to them the house rules. That way it's very clear and it's very understood that this is what we tolerate and this is what we don't. When I was sitting down and doing intake with each person and looking them in the eye and explaining to them the house rules and which rules would get them kicked out immediately, I did not have that many problems. I really didn't have that many problems because I looked them right in the eye and told them, these are the house rules. Do you understand this? Signature here. Do you understand that? Signature here. And they were like, okay, I'm not going to violate these house rules because I want to stay here. This is a nice place. So that's something that just take that story and just think about it. If you are doing intake automated, where you're just having people DocuSign something and you're having problems, if you're having problems with house rules being broken, maybe you should take away that DocuSign thing and actually sit down and talk to people and look them in the eye and have them understand the rules. All right, so that was the screening. Okay, clear expectations. So yeah, that goes into that. So setting the standard from day one. You don't want to have any kind of ambiguity at all. Everything needs to be crystal clear. And that's how I was. Everything was crystal clear and it was black and white. This is what we tolerate. This is what we do not tolerate. And then enforcing boundaries. So even if it's a small infraction, most people are inclined to just let that go if it's a small infraction. But small infractions become bigger infractions. So you have to maintain your boundaries. Those boundaries will protect your business and maintain the integrity of your home. If you start slacking and giving people a lot of leeway on things, word travels. The people in the house talk to each other and they'll be like, you know what, she really doesn't care about that rule because she let me do such and such. So then everybody will think that they don't have to follow the rules either. So you have to be a stickler on your house rules. And if there's an infraction, you have to address that infraction, because people are people and people will push the boundaries and try to see how far they can get you to bend. So don't bend on any of your rules. All right, protecting the physical asset. So this is the home itself and also the business. So just make sure that you keep your home maintained, basically, whether you're renting the house or you've bought the house, just make sure that it stays maintained. And also do regular checks. And this is checks of the actual house itself, like the grounds, and then also room checks. So in your lease agreement, you should have in there that you are allowed to do room checks. So make sure you go in and do room checks, because you don't know what everybody's doing in their rooms. We had a man who, great guy, he was really nice, and his room was next door to the restroom. Now, this man had been living on the street. He had been living under a bridge, and then he was working at a church, and the church helped him to get his benefits in place. So the church helped him to get his SSI or SSDI or whatever it is that he was due. So he got his benefits. And then once the church helped him to get his benefits, they found me. I'm pretty sure they found me through United Way. So they called 211, which is the United Way. So you know how people can dial 911 for emergency? And then there's like, I think there's 811 if you're going to dig or something. I can't remember. Anyway, there's another one for mental health. I can't remember. I don't have them in front of me. But 211 is the United Way. And you can call 211 anywhere in the country. If you need help with anything, you could ask 211, where can I get some cheap or free food? Where can I get some affordable housing? Where can I get this and that? So anyway, the church called 211, and 211 United Way referred them to my group home, Round Table Living. So we got this guy in, nice guy. He signed the lease and everything. Bathroom was right next door to his room. We assumed he had a private room. We assumed that everything was going well. We didn't have any complaints or anything. Well, when he was about to move out, that's when we actually went and like really looked in his room. And he had all of these plastic bottles lined up along his wall full of pee. He had been peeing in bottles. He was peeing in bottles because he was just used to peeing in bottles. So thankfully, he was keeping them really tight so they didn't smell, but it was just a bunch of bottles. So we're like, dude, like you didn't have to pee in bottles. You could pee in the bathroom. He was just like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Like I would have a bottle each day. I'd have a bottle of water. So I just would pee in the bottle. So anyway, my point to that story is you need to do checks. You need to do room checks. With shared rooms, people tell on each other. So they'll let you know if something is not right. But in private rooms, you do need to every once in a while see what's going on in that private room, because you also don't want anybody violating rules. You don't want somebody smoking in there. You don't want somebody doing drugs or drinking. So you got to make sure that everybody's okay and make sure that the household is running well. Okay, financial risk management. So multiple streams. This goes back to what I was talking about early on. If you were on the call earlier, I was saying that this is the nature of a co-living business. A co-living business fixes this multiple streams issue. Back when I was renting out single family homes, and I was making, let's say, $200 a month profit on that house. Once that person or family moved out, my income went down to zero. So let's say I was renting out the house for $2,000 a month, but my mortgage, my mortgage was $1,800, so I'm pocketing $200. When that family left and that $2,000 left, I got nothing. I got nothing until I filled up that house. But with co-living, let's say we have 6 people in this house. One of them leaves. You still have 5 other incomes coming in until you fill that vacancy and you're back up to 6. But when one person leaves, your income does not go down to zero with co-living. With co-living, if somebody leaves, you still have 5 other income streams. This is why I love co-living. This is why co-living is way better as far as real estate investing than a regular single family rental. Not only do you maximize your income, you get so much more income, but also you reduce that risk because now you've got multiple streams of income under one roof. It's like having 6 doors under one roof. So you have one house, it was one door, and now you've turned it into six doors because you have all of these different streams of income. Smaller streams of income, but when you add them all up, it's actually much more than the regular single family home. Hopefully you guys followed that. And then planning for vacancies. So yeah, make sure that the numbers are right. Make sure that the numbers work for you by using a profit calculator or something else similar to that, some kind of dashboard, so that you know that if you don't have to be at 100% occupancy to be able to pay the bills. You want to have it set up so that you can be at 80% occupancy and still pay the bills and still make some money. So make sure that the numbers make sense and that you're not operating to where you have to be at 100% occupied in order to pay your bills. And then predictability. So just know your numbers. So start tracking how much is the water bill for this house? How much is the electric bill for this house? How much is the internet? And watch these bills, because when I first started, I was paying $75 a month for internet for like a good couple years. And then all of a sudden it shot up to like 150, and I didn't even realize it because it was on auto pay and I wasn't really thinking about it, and I was still making money. And plus I had the day job too. So I wasn't really that concerned with the money, but I wasn't watching it like I should have. And all I needed to do was I called the internet company and told them my budget is only $75. Can you give me a plan that's 75? And magically they came up with a plan that was only $75. So I told them this is all I can afford. I can't afford anymore. So just keep an eye on all of your bills. And also what I think the saying is like what gets tracked improves, or what gets managed improves. So make sure that you're tracking everything and you're managing everything so that you can improve your numbers over time. Okay. Yeah. What gets measured improves. Okay. So no systems does equal high risk. And like I said, when I first started this, people always ask me, how risky is this? Is co-living risky? Yes, it is. And so is walking down the street. So is living. Everything is risky. But because you are getting multiple incomes under one roof, I think it's less risky than having a regular single family home. But it could be more risky depending on the demographics that you house, because I do house people who they can't pass a background check because they have felony convictions and things like that. So there is risk in the type of people that I'm housing, but I think there's risk everywhere. And plus I'm kind of a risk taker anyway. So it's okay for me. And then no SOPs, so that's standard operating procedures. So you have to have standard procedures. You have to have standard procedures, because if you don't have a standard, then what are you going to hold yourself to? You have to have standards so you know what to expect, you know what we allow and what we don't allow. And also tracking. So make sure that you are tracking everything so that you can manage it, because you can't manage what you don't measure. You have to measure it. Just like if you're trying to lose weight, you have to weigh yourself. If you never weigh yourself, then how do you know? How do you know that you're losing weight? You have to measure. You have to get on that scale so that now you can manage it. You have to document it and see what the progress is. See if the pounds are going up or if they're going down. You need to see that so that you can manage it. And then make sure that you stick to your boundaries. So every time I have bent the rules for someone, it has bitten me every single time without fail. If I bend the rules for somebody, it bites me later. I've bent the rules on late payments. I've bent the rules on no pets. I've bent so many different rules, and every single time I should not have bent the rule. If I had just stuck to my standard operating procedures, I wouldn't have had an issue. So stick to your standard operating procedures and make sure you do have standards. If something comes across your plate, some issue comes across that you don't have a standard for, add it to your standards. So now you and your operations manager or whoever else you have helping you knows what the standard is. They know what we tolerate and what we don't tolerate. And remember, on patterns become problems, your residents talk to each other. They talk to each other. So if you tell somebody, okay, I'll let you slide this month, but don't tell anybody, they're going to tell everybody. They're going to tell everybody. So just stick to your standard operating procedures and you won't have any issues at all. Plus, another thing I want to point out is you don't want to make things personal. Nothing is personal. It's not Katrina is asking me for rent. It's Roundtable Living LLC. So when I first started, even though it was just me, I used we language. It's we don't tolerate this. We don't accept cash payments. We this, we that. And it was because I was thinking of the future. I was thinking that, in the future, it's not just going to be me. We're going to have an operations manager and we are going to have a business that we are running together. So it's Roundtable Living. It's not Katrina. It's my business that is enforcing this rule. It's not Katrina's rule. It's Roundtable Living. We do not accept pets. So I'm like a representative of the company. So that's another way to not feel so awkward with enforcing rules. It's the business's rule is this. It's not my rule. It's the business's rule is this. So we don't allow this. I'm sorry. All right. Recognize early warning signs. So if your residents suddenly stop communicating with you, there's probably an issue that's brewing. So dig into that. And then if somebody is constantly violating little rules here and there, they're probably testing you. They're testing your boundaries. So that's why when there's early signs of infractions, you have to nip it right then. You have to let them know that this is not something we tolerate here. And if you need to document it and give them something written, then do that. So make sure that everybody is aware of the rules. And there's a hard line. There's a hard line. There's no gray area. I don't believe in the gray areas with this business. This is what we do in this situation, period. And then make sure you're aware of any tension in the home. Now, this kind of stuff, this is the stuff I used to be more hands-on with before I had an operations manager, but I have an operations manager now. So this is more a slide for someone who is an operator, someone who is a level below like the CEO. Right now, I'm at the level where I'm managing the whole business as a whole, and I'm just meeting with the operations manager, but he would be the one who is recognizing these early warning signs because I'm not even there. My houses are all in San Antonio, Texas. I live in Los Angeles. So this is not something that I would be that involved in, but make sure that if you are the operator, that you are recognizing these early warning signs. Okay, your decision-making filter. Let's see. So this goes back to starting out your business, even if it's a really small house and you're just starting out, treating it like it's a multi-home business, if that's your goal. If your goal is to have a multi-home business, then start off treating it like that. I knew that if I just got stuck in all of the little details of house number one and just got really bogged down with all of the small things with house number one, then I wouldn't be able to scale and open house number two and then house number three. So don't get so wrapped up in the day-to-day and the small little details. You have to look at the bigger picture. Even if you're not in a position right now to hire someone to be your operations manager, you still have to look at you can take some time and be the operations manager where you're in the day-to-day, but then you also need to set aside that time to put on your CEO hat and have your CEO hour and look at the whole scene. You have to look at the whole forest because when you're stuck managing every little detail, you cannot see the forest for the trees. You're looking at this little tree right here, but you can't see everything that's going on and what the bigger picture is. So that's basically what this slide is talking about. So before saying yes to a request, ask, does this decision protect my business or does it expose it to unnecessary risk? So make sure you ask that question. Am I solving the root issue for the next year, or am I just delaying a problem for the next week? So look at long-term versus short-term decisions and consequences of your decision. Scalable decisions. Would I make this same decision if I owned 10 properties? If it doesn't scale, then that's a liability. So don't start doing things that is not scalable. And like the slide says, move from emotional reactions to strategic decisions. You have to think about strategy. Okay, so what failure looks like without systems. So constant emergencies. If you are always putting out fires every single day, that's failure. That's a systems failure. If you are just constantly putting out fires every day, you should not have that many fires to put out. You should have systems in place to handle most of the issues that come up with this business. Also, if you're feeling burnt out, if you are having emotional exhaustion or physical exhaustion from managing this business instead of leading your business, then that's a systems failure. What I recommend for that, because I've been there a lot. I'm definitely a workaholic. So you need to take a little break. What you need to do is take a little break and just take a couple days off, maybe journal and figure out what your ideal day and your ideal week would look like, and then make that happen. So just pull out your journal and just write like what's been going on, what has been bothering you. That's something I ask my assistant every week. Like what's been slowing you down? What has been slowing you down? Write it out, like what has been slowing you down, and fix it. Fix it. Fix it. If you don't have a mentor, get a mentor so that you can get yourself out of that situation, because emotional and physical exhaustion is just no way to live. So you have to write out what you want, make it plain, write it out, make it plain, and then make it happen for yourself. If you need help with this, let me know, because this is something I'm very interested in, is optimizing your life. So making sure that you're not experiencing burnout and that you're living your best life. And then another failure is financial loss. So if you're always doing reactive decision making, then you're not planning. You need to have a strategic plan in place so that you're not losing money. So that's what failure looks like. We're almost done here. I'm going to end it pretty soon. Okay, so your real job. You as the CEO of your co-living business, you are the decision maker and the protector and the systems owner. You don't have to do everything, but you make sure it gets done, and you own the system. So you make sure that the system is documented and that the system works. If the system doesn't work, then you fix that system, and then you communicate that to the doers. So it's going back to decision maker. You are not the fixer on the ground. You are the brains. You are the strategic mind that is directing the business. That's how I teach my coaching clients. I know there's a lot of coaches out there who their answer to everything is go to the house and fix this, go to the house. And then that to me is the level of an operator. I'm talking to CEOs. I'm talking to the CEO, not the operator. So the operator is a level below. Now, when you first start out, you are the operator. I was the operator. When I first started out, I was the operator and the CEO. But I always had a CEO mindset, and I knew that that was not going to last forever, that I was going to hire an operator. So I'm talking to people who want to have multiple homes. You want to scale. You want to have multiple of these homes. You make the decisions on how this business is going to run. And you safeguard your business, the asset and this income that it generates, and you document things, and you're looking at profit and loss statements, and you're making sure the accounts are in order, all of that, your tenant management system, etc. So you own the system. Okay, so I know that this presentation was more like top level, and that was the whole point of it, was top level about mitigating risk. So this is not how to do it. It's the what, not the how. The how is actually in my coaching program. So if this is something that interests you, if you are interested in opening a co-living business and you want to make sure that you have systems in place to run it, make sure you reach out to me. So I answer every single comment, by the way, on YouTube. So if you comment on YouTube, I'm going to answer it. But just let me know and we can have a conversation about how I can help you and what coaching offers I have. So this is the awareness. This is what this presentation was. So it's the foundation. And so, but the implementation though, that's the execution part. That's where the risk is actually reduced. So the execution part is in my coaching program. I go very into detail on how you can manage your home properly and mitigate your risk. But this was just an introduction and an overall, explanation of risk and the co-living business. And then remember that systems create freedom. So you do want to have systems in place. It's vital for you to have systems in place and systems that are documented. And then let's see, don't build alone. So use proven frameworks, use a mentor, whether it's me or someone else, get yourself a mentor because like I always say, you can pay for mistakes or you can pay for mentorship. I would rather you pay for mentorship than pay for mistakes. All right, last slide. So if you are interested in getting some coaching on how to open your co-living home, please book a call with me. You can use if you're watching on YouTube or on the Zoom, you can use your camera on your phone and just scan this code and it will take you to my calendar and you can just book a call with me and we can talk about the different coaching options that I provide. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my slides and I'm going to go to the Q&A. All right, so here's a question. Give some examples of SOPs. Okay, so SOPs are standard operating procedures. And an example of an SOP would be how we handle conflict. So like roommate conflicts. Another example is handling rent, like what kind of rents we accept and how we accept them. Fines for breaking of house rules. Also what the rules of the house are, what the violations would be, like what the fines are. What else is an SOP? Intake process. We have an SOP for the intake process. There's every process that we have in the house. There's a documented procedure for that. Okay, another question. Are your rooms cannabis friendly? I'm seeing some homes or potential renters asking. So my homes are all in Texas. And as far as I know, that is still illegal in Texas. So my rooms are not. I live in California. So it's kind of interesting when I go out there and like, so they complain, so-and-so smoking weed. And I'm like, so as long as he's in the smoking area, they're like, no, that's illegal. No, my homes are not cannabis friendly because they're all in Texas. I do have smoking areas in the back of each of my homes, outside in the courtyard in a specific area, and there is an ashtray where the butts must go in the ashtray. No smoking in the house whatsoever. So none of the rooms are smoke friendly. You cannot smoke in the house at all. You can only smoke outside in the designated smoking area, and we don't allow any illegal drugs. And so in Texas, that would include cannabis. Thank you for the question. That was a great question. All right, let's see if there's any questions over on the YouTube side. Nope, I don't see any questions on the YouTube. So I think I'm about to end this. I'll give it another couple of seconds. You've probably done a lot of groundwork marketing. That's another comment. Yeah, I do a lot of marketing. I do so much marketing. In my coaching program, I give you 101 ways to market your group home. I call it a group home. It's really co-living, but I give you 101 ways to market. And the marketing includes a lot of different ways. Like, for example, email campaigns. I walk you exactly through how to set up your email campaigns and batch that work so that you don't have to send out the emails like manually every week, but you're going to batch that work and set up your entire email campaign for the whole year in one day so that your group home stays or co-living home stays top of mind with all of your referral partners. So caseworkers, social workers, housing navigators, reentry coordinators, parole officers, anybody and everybody who you can think of and who you would like to house, the different demographics that you would like to house. I teach you how to set up your email campaign so that you can reach out to those people and stay top of mind with them and by batching that work. And then we also talk about optimizing your LinkedIn profile so that you can reach out to people that way. I give you my open house event plan. So there's a lot of things that I teach you in my coaching program on how to market, because marketing is the absolute most important thing with this business. It's not about the house itself at all. It's not even about your systems. It's about filling those beds, because whether you have empty beds or full beds, you still have to pay the rent on that house to the landlord, or mortgage. If you own the house, you still have to pay that, and you still have to pay all the utilities. So you have to fill your beds. That's why I spend so much time on marketing in my coaching program. That was a great comment too. Let's see if there's anything that has popped up on the YouTube. Okay, nope, nothing there. Don't be shy, guys. You can comment. I'm answering for another couple minutes. I'll answer anything you put in there. Okay, let's see. I met with a parole officer, but I have not heard back. You got to follow up with everybody, because people get so distracted nowadays. Now that it's like the TikTok generation and everybody has really short attention spans. So you have to follow up with people multiple times before you might hear back from them. I'll have to sign up with part of your training for marketing. Yes, please sign up for so like I said, I have a lot of different coaching, not a lot, but I have some coaching options. I have a self-paced course. I also have the full coaching program. That's where we're meeting with each other for 90 days, every other week. And then I also have small packages. For example, I have a marketing specific coaching package. It's a very small package, but it's small but mighty. It's very powerful. And I teach you about how to market your home and fill your beds. Okay, can't afford the full training. That's fine. I have other options. Oh, also, I think you might already be in the school group, but I have a free school community. Let me put it in the chat box. I have a free school community, and you're free to join that. And then also there are paid tiers in the school. Okay, you're in the school group. Okay, good. There are paid tiers in the school community where you get access to additional trainings. So if that's something that you're interested in, you could definitely do that. Let me get the link. Okay, I will. I'll send the link in the chat. 1 second. I'm going to post it right now. Let me just copy this. Okay. Everyone, boom. Okay, and let me post it on the YouTube side too. I'll post the link to the school group. All right. I've got about 5 minutes until I have another call. So I'm really happy that you joined. Thank you so much for joining the Zoom. I know that I announced it really late. This right here, I usually don't do live on YouTube. This is something that's a school training, but I just decided to go live on YouTube just randomly because I had not posted it early enough in the school to let everybody know what the link was. But for the people that joined, I sincerely appreciate that you joined tonight. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the people who are watching on YouTube, because I hadn't posted on YouTube in a minute, so I needed some content. So I decided to just go live on the YouTube. I can't wait to share with you guys the video and the pictures from my conference that happened. It was awesome. I just been so busy that I haven't had a chance to post the content from the conference, but wait till you see the pictures and the video from the conference. It was amazing. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do another one next year because it was just so awesome. Anyway, I have to go because I do have another call. I have a coaching call in about 5 minutes, but I sincerely appreciate you guys joining tonight. Oh, hey, Charmaine. Good to see you. Okay. Have a good night, everybody.